We all need some romance in our lives every once in a while. Especially if you're single, like me.
And me.
But there's something else that can scratch that itch.
Oh God.
Shojo anime. What did you think I was gonna say?
Oh, okay, that's fine.
Of course, shoujo's not all about romance. It focuses on all sorts of themes, like the importance of friends and family, getting over trauma and anxiety, or just growing up and getting stronger. Your next line is, hey, that sounds a lot like shonen anime. Well, that's why I'm here, to convince you that they've got more in common than you might think. We're all watching Fruits Basket, right? If not, no worries, I'll try and get you caught up on the premise real quick. Absolute cinnamon roll Toru Honda encounters various people from the massive Soma family. Lots of them are possessed by members of the Chinese zodiac and transform into animals if hugged by someone of another gender, which is basically a meet cute waiting to happen. I mean, wait, is it a meet cute if it, like, someone transforms into a floof? Anyway, as she grows closer to this family, Toru helps them become better people. Because believe it or not, spending centuries as a revered zodiac creature can kinda go to your head and make it hard to have normal friends. But that's where Toru comes in. If you're a My Hero Academia fan, think of Toru as the all might of Fruits Basket. She might not be able to do a Detroit smash, but she can smash their loneliness. Just let me have that one, guys. She'll go to any length to help others, even if it makes things harder for her. And while that may not be the healthiest of attitudes, it's hard not to love a character that is that generous. That's why people are so drawn to her. She's as dedicated to kindness as All Might is to being a hero. Plus, that self-sacrificing drive to do good is straight out of shonen. Look at Gon, or Deku, or Naruto, or like 1,000 other shonen protagonists. The difference here is that Toru's sacrifices aren't gonna take years off her life like Gon's do. But the basic idea is the same. Fruits Basket is a real classic of shoujo anime, and the fact that it's getting remade is a big deal. As big as when Fullmetal Alchemist anime got remade into Brotherhood. Fans are even calling this remake Fruits Basket Brotherhood. And Fruits Basket is in a perfect spot to be one of the most watched shoujo anime in a long time, because the show's actually got a lot of substance. Unfortunately, a lot of people I know who would really love the show aren't actually watching it. Don't lie.
I can explain.
Sure. And it's all because of one thing, the shoujo label. The sad fact is that shows aimed at girls and women just aren't all that popular with male-identifying people. I get it, why would you expect a show not marketed to you to be your type of thing? But trust me, shows like Fruits Basket would really wow people if they gave them a chance. Gender-specific content can lean a little too hard on certain tropes, but the same can be said of, well, pretty much any genre. If you look past the tropes, you'll find that the stories at the core of shoujo shows aren't so different from your shonen faves. Because believe it or not, we're all humans regardless of our gender identity, and our basic needs are pretty much the same. Food, water, fan service. I meant to say sleep. So, it makes sense that our taste in media only diverges so much. Everyone loves good characters, exciting situations, and stories that resonate with our own lives. But to be fair, people have plenty of reasons for not checking out shoujo. I'm sure some anime fans have had bad shoujo experiences that turned them off the genre. I'm not gonna tell you that all shoujo is great, because it's not, and some people just aren't into romance stories, even outside of anime. It's true, the vast majority of shoujo puts a big emphasis on love and romance between the characters, but let me make a case for letting a little more romance into your life. Even if romance isn't your thing, you gotta admit it still shows up in a lot of shonen. Ochako and Deku's romantic tension is a major plot point of My Hero Academia, as is Bakugo and Kirishima's. And Bakugo and Deku. Wait, I should be promoting shoujo right now, not my ships. My bad. Okay, but seriously, the list goes on. Everyone remembers the middle school wars between Team Sakura and Team Hinata. We'd argue about who Naruto would end up with because we actually cared. And now that I'm no longer in middle school, I have an even deeper appreciation of Jiraya's failed courtship of Tsunade. And how could anyone forget the adorable romance between Ed and Winry in Fullmetal Alchemist? Even Dragon Ball Z, the most shonen to ever shonen, has some romance between Bulma and Vegeta. Even if shoujo anime shines a brighter spotlight on it, romance is hardly outside of the norm. When you consider shows aimed at guys that are specifically about romance, like Kaguya-sama Love is War, Clannad, or Your Lie in April, you have to admit that writing off shoujo because of the kissy parts is kinda unfair. Of course, just because a show is a shoujo doesn't mean it can't have some shonen tropes as well. The classic Revolutionary Girl Utena definitely proves the idea of shoujo sameness wrong. It's about as action-packed and dramatic as most shonen, with a lot of dueling. Like, a lot. Anthe, a girl known as the Rose Bride, is at the center of these clashes. Utena fights to defend her, and there's even a hint that whoever wins Anthe will be granted some sort of special power or destiny. But outside of the relationship, there's a lot going on. This is one of those shows that makes you go, kids were allowed to watch this? Its themes of sex, power, and abuse are pretty heavy, so I think it's safe to say it isn't just a fluffy romance, if a romance at all. It's got plenty of grit and darkness, and it's also beautiful in that lush, technicolor, but kind of poorly animated 90s way. Gotta love it. Then there's Karekano, or His and Her Circumstances, directed by Hideaki Anno, the creator of Neon Genesis Evangelion. It strays pretty far from the stereotypical shoujo story. The show centers around a pretty fraught game of blackmail and one-upmanship between the main characters that's sort of like Kaguya-sama Love is War. It's also a really creative show, and somehow its final episodes are even more divisive than Evangelion's. But in my mind, that just adds to the charm. I mean, where else are you gonna see South Park-esque paper cutouts in a rom-com? And who can forget Sailor Moon? A show which honestly has a lot more in common with Dragon Ball than you might think. Check out that timeline. That is messed up. There are some really killer fights towards the end of each season, and you can really see the direct influence from Super Sentai, the Japanese series whose footage was used for Power Rangers. And by the way, did you know that Sailor Moon's author is married to the creator of Hunter x Hunter and Yu Hakusho? What? Shonen rubs off osmosis. And if you really want proof that shoujo can be wide-reaching, then let me point you to this Attack on Titan spin-off that was published in a shoujo magazine. Sure, this might be some serious Levi fan service, but I'm not mad about it. I mean, is anyone really mad about Levi fan service? Because if you are, who are you? I don't think I've ever met one of your kind. The whole story arc focuses on Levi's pre-survey core life and his relationships with his comrades. And there's also political intrigue, combat, and acrobatics brought to you by the 3D maneuvering gear. So all of the Attack on Titan staples. Believe it or not, letting Levi's relationships come to the fore is just another element of the story, rather than something that, stops it from being the Attack on Titan we know and love. So let's say you're on board. You're down for some romance. You know shoujo can surprise you, and you're ready to pick up a new series. Good news! I've got some shoujo recommendations that are sure to knock the socks off anyone who gives them a chance, with a 100% money-back guarantee. Especially because I'm broke. So where am I gonna get that from? With the understanding that you're not paying us, but it's the thought that counts, right? One of the most popular shoujo series of the past few years is Yona of the Dawn, a political thriller set in a fantasy kingdom based on Korea. Princess Yona must gather the human forms of 4 legendary dragons in order to take the country back from her cousin who killed her father. There's some real political drama in this series, making it an easy recommendation for anyone into Attack on Titan or Fullmetal Alchemist. Yona's development is awesome. She goes from a scared, sheltered girl to a committed warrior. She learns about the outside world, understands the problems of her father and her cousin, and works with her allies to make a better nation for her people.
I want to watch it because I've seen the previews.
Oh, it's so good.
All right, let's do that.
It is so good. Yes, it's been out for a while. Season 1 and 2 and a cliffhanger. If you're a mecha fan or a lover of, isekai stuff, like The Wizard of Oz, then you should give the Vision of Escaflowne a try. The main character, Hitomi, is transported to a fantasy world of medieval giant robots. Because of course. She is accompanying a young king named Van on a journey to stop the ones who destroyed his kingdom. Unlike the heroes in modern isekai like Konosuba, ReZero, or Rising of the Shield Hero, Hitomi spends most of the series trying to get back to Earth. You'd think that being dragged away from your friends and family would have some negative repercussions, huh? Guess that's why the protagonists of most isekai are all shut-ins. With a soundtrack from Cowboy Bebop composer Yoko Kanno, this show's production value is off the charts. So if it sounds up your alley, you should give it a chance. Ooh, and while I have your attention, let me bring you to a little throwback. Cardcaptors, a mystic adventure. Cardcaptors, a quest for all time. What, can I groove to this killer anime theme song? Said no one ever. Blech. Don't watch that one. The original Cardcaptor Sakura. Cardcaptor Sakura is something a lot of us probably watched as a kid. If you did, then what are you waiting for? Go watch it again, this time in a not butchered version. If you didn't, then, you should still try it? Unlike other series I've mentioned, this isn't the kind of show that just anyone would like. It's very episodic and definitely aimed at kids. But it absolutely deals with mature topics, has adorable lead characters, and some of the best art ever seen in anime. Not to mention some queer overtones and a compelling coming-of-age story. Some of you definitely won't love it, and that's okay. But if any of this sounds good, I can promise that, like Sakura herself, you are about to fall in love. Besides, who doesn't like some lighter anime fare every once in a while? Next up, Kaze-san and Morning Glories is an hour-long Yuri film which also happens to run in a shoujo magazine, so it counts. It's sickeningly adorable while still getting the problems that come when you're in a relationship. If you're a fan of Bloom Into You or other Yuri stories, you'll love this. Psst, read the manga. Bonus scenes. Now, if you want an action-packed shoujo BL, Banana Fish is a great crime revenge drama with gay, well, you could only call these undertones if you were on top of a mountain. Like Brokeback Mountain. The way Ash and Eiji make each other better people is fantastic, all while Ash attempts to recover from the decade of abuse he suffered. It was one of the best shows of last year, so it's worth looking into. And now to address one of the biggest anime out there, Makoto Shinkai's massively popular movie, Your Name, is heavy on the romance while also being heavy on impending doom and time travel. It's also just funny and great and beautiful, and yes, a love story. But with its endearing cast of characters and building tension, it's a pretty chill way to spend an evening on the couch. But prepare to cry. A lot. And of course, to loop things back around, I've got to go into a bit more depth with Fruits Basket, because I really can't imagine a better place to get into shoujo than an ongoing series that you'll have plenty of time to catch up to. I said at the start of the video that you should be watching this show for Toru, but the rest of the main characters are just as endearing. Yuki's been so isolated from regular non-magical humans that he can hardly connect with others, while Kyo is a classic misunderstood black sheep sort of character who just needs to be shown some kindness so he can relax. Seriously, he breaks all the walls, he really needs a chopo. Both Yuki and Kyo are just as important to the show as Toru. And it's the way these characters help each other improve that really makes this series stand out. Not to mention plenty of slapstick situational humor. And that's part of what makes shoujo so worthwhile. It talks about issues that other genres just don't hit on with the same consistency. As a genre, shoujo makes anime a fuller, more well-rounded medium. As hype as shonen is, we can't eat a devil fruit or go Super Saiyan to deal with our problems in real life. Though for the record, I still wish we could. We need shows that give us examples of how to work through trauma, build relationships, and invest in those around us. Because part of growing up is learning how to deal with our problems. We're gonna get a lot of those. And until we have to experience them firsthand, we look to media like anime to learn those lessons. Besides, isn't building strong relationships and learning to be better people something all of us should do? And I don't know about you, but I have a pretty much endless appetite for anime. So if you're like me, add some shoujo to the mix. You might just like it. I'm Cristal Marie with GetintheRobot, your anime watch list. Hey, subscribe! We'll keep these videos coming.